Captain Elias Riker stood at the helm of his ship, gazing out at the stars. He had always been a warrior at heart. His life had been filled with battles, missions, and moments of quiet reflection in the vastness of space. But today something felt different. Today he was not just a soldier. He was a diplomat, tasked with the responsibility of forging an alliance between humanity and the Asfara, a proud and ancient species. The Asfara were known for their strength, wisdom, and honor. They had lived for centuries, and their empire spanned many planets. But now, with the galaxy on the brink of war, Elias and his crew had come to Keleth 3 to seek an alliance. The mission was critical, and failure was not an option. As their ship landed on the lush green soil of Keleth 3, Elias couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This planet was unlike any he had ever visited. The air was thick with the scent of wildflowers, and the sky was painted in hues of violet and orange as the twin suns set on the horizon. It was a peaceful world, and Elias wondered how it had remained untouched by the conflicts that plagued the rest of the galaxy. The Asfara had agreed to meet with them, and Elias's heart raced with anticipation. As he walked down the ramp of his ship, he was greeted by Liara, the princess of the Asfara. She was everything he had imagined, tall, regal, and exuding an air of authority that commanded respect. Her piercing green eyes studied him carefully as though she were assessing his every move. "Captain Riker," she said, her voice calm and measured. "Welcome to Keleth 3. Elias nodded, his gaze locked with hers. "Princess Liara, it's an honor to meet you." She gave a slight nod, and they exchanged pleasantries before being escorted to the palace. As they walked through the grand halls of the Asfara stronghold, Elias couldn't help but notice the beauty of the architecture. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings that told the stories of ancient battles, and the air was filled with the soft hum of Asfara music, a soothing melody that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the planet. Over the next few days, Elias and Liara worked together to discuss the terms of the alliance. There were negotiations, discussions of military strategy, and shared visions for the future. At first, their interactions were formal and professional, but as time passed, Elias began to notice something. Liara wasn't just a princess, she was a warrior in her own right. Her sharp intellect and quick thinking made her an invaluable ally, and Elias found himself drawn to her strength and determination. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Elias and Liara sat together in the palace gardens, overlooking a vast valley filled with shimmering lakes. The atmosphere was serene, and for a moment Elias allowed himself to relax. The tension of the past few days seemed to melt away as he spoke with Liara about their shared hopes for the future. "I've never met anyone quite like you, Liara," Elias said, his voice soft. "Your people are strong, proud, and wise. I can see why you are their leader." Liara looked at him, her expression unreadable. "I am only a leader because my people trust me. I fight for them just as you fight for yours." Elias nodded. He had always believed in the strength of humanity, but there was something about Liara that made him question everything he thought he knew. She was a symbol of power, but also of compassion. She was everything he had ever wanted in a leader, and more. As the days passed, Elias found himself spending more and more time with Liara. They would share stories, laugh at each other's jokes, and even debate the finer points of strategy. Elias realized that he had begun to feel something more than just respect for her. He was starting to care for her in a way he hadn't anticipated. But there was a problem, an obstacle that he couldn't ignore. Liara was a princess, and she had her duties to her people. She couldn't simply abandon her position for the sake of a human warrior, no matter how strong the bond between them had become. Elias knew this, but it didn't make his feelings any easier to bear. One evening, as they stood together on a balcony overlooking the vast expanse of Keleth 3, Elias made a decision. He had to speak the truth. He had to tell her how he felt, even if it meant risking everything. "Liara," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "I've been fighting for so long, and I've faced so many dangers. But nothing has prepared me for this. I've never met anyone like you. Your strength, your honor, it's like nothing I've ever seen. And I find myself wanting to be by your side, not just as a soldier, but as someone who cares for you. I'm asking you, will you marry me?" The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment there was silence. Elias looked at Liara, his heart pounding in his chest. He could see the conflict in her eyes, the same conflict he had felt in his own heart for so long. But what came next was not what he expected. Liara took a step back, her eyes clouded with sorrow. "Elias," she said softly, "I cannot marry you." Elias felt as though the ground had been ripped out from under him. He had been so sure, so certain that this was the right path. But in that moment he realized that his love for her was not enough to change the laws of the Asfara. Their worlds were too different, their destinies too far apart. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Liara looked at him with a sadness in her eyes that he had never seen before. "It's not that I don't care for you, Elias, I do. But the laws of my people, they forbid such unions. The Asfara cannot marry humans. It would threaten the purity of our bloodlines. I cannot go against my people's laws." Elias fell to his knees, the weight of her words crashing down on him. His heart ached, and for the first time in his life he felt powerless. The warrior who had faced down armies and conquered planets was now helpless before the one woman he had come to love. "Please, Liara," he pleaded. "There must be some way we can make it work." But Liara shook her head, her expression firm. "I'm sorry, Elias, we can't be together in the way you wish. It's not just the law, it's the way our people think. It's how things have always been." With those words, the gulf between them seemed to widen. Elias stood, his shoulders heavy with the burden of his unrequited love. He had fought wars, won battles, and overcome impossible odds. But this was something he couldn't defeat. For the first time, Elias understood the true meaning of loss. But he wasn't ready to give up, not yet. He would find another way, for Liara, for humanity, for the galaxy. As he walked away, the stars above seemed to mock him. The galaxy was vast, but it felt smaller now, and the future, once filled with hope, now seemed uncertain. Elias Riker walked away from Liara with a heavy heart, the pain of her words echoing in his mind. He had been through battles where life and death hung in the balance, but this moment felt different. This wasn't a war fought with weapons, it was a war fought with the heart. And for the first time in his life, Elias didn't know if he could win. The days after their conversation felt like a blur. He kept himself busy with the ongoing negotiations between the humans and the Asfara, trying to push his emotions to the back of his mind. But every time he saw Liara, his heart ached. She was strong, composed, and beautiful, but there was something distant in her eyes now, something that hadn't been there before. She would greet him with the same calm professionalism, but Elias could see the way she avoided meeting his gaze for too long. He knew that she was just as torn as he was, but the truth of the situation remained unchanged. Their worlds were too different, and their love would never be accepted. One evening, Elias found himself standing on the balcony of his quarters, staring out at the twin moons of Keleth III. The sky was dark and full of stars, and the air was thick with the scent of distant flowers. He missed the simplicity of his home on Earth, the way the sun would rise over the horizon and light up the plains, how the wind would rush through the trees. But now all of that seemed so far away. His life was here, in this strange galaxy where love felt impossible and dreams seemed unreachable. But as he stood there lost in thought, he heard a soft voice behind him. "Elias." He turned to see Liara standing at the entrance to the balcony, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of the hallway lights. Her presence filled the space with an undeniable intensity, and for a moment Elias felt like he was standing before a warrior once more, one who was just as strong as he was. "You don't have to be here," Elias said, his voice raw with emotion. "You've already made it clear that we can't be together. There's no point in dragging this out." Liara took a step forward, her gaze steady. "I know what I said, Elias," she replied softly. "But I didn't say it because I didn't care. I said it because I care too much. And I can't bear the thought of hurting you more than I already have." Elias's chest tightened at her words. "You don't have to explain. I understand. I always knew it wouldn't be easy, but I can't stop feeling what I feel for you." Liara stepped closer, her voice trembling ever so slightly. "And neither can I, Elias. You've become more than just an ally to me. You've become someone I can't imagine my life without. But I have a duty to my people. I can't just throw that away." Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her responsibilities. She had her people to protect, her culture to uphold, and in a way so did he. But his heart longed for more. He wanted the chance to stand beside her, not as a soldier, not as a diplomat, but as a man who loved her. "I've fought battles all my life," Elias said. his voice quiet but resolute. But nothing prepared me for this. I thought I could protect everyone. I thought I could fix everything. But this is something I can't fight my way through. I don't know how to let you go. Liara's eyes softened, and for the first time she reached out to touch his arm, her fingers gentle against his skin. I never asked you to let me go, Elias. I never wanted to hurt you. But the truth is, I don't know if I can let you go either. Elias looked at her, searching her face for some sign that their shared connection could be more than just a fleeting moment. Then what do we do? If we can't be together, if the galaxy and our people won't allow it, what do we do? Liara took a deep breath and looked up at the stars as though searching for the answers in the vastness of space. Maybe we can't be together now. Maybe we have to wait. But what I do know is that there's more to this than just love. There's something greater at stake. Our people need us to be strong, to unite. And maybe that's the only way we can truly be together, by fighting for something bigger than ourselves. Elias listened carefully, feeling a spark of hope flicker inside him. You're right, he said, his voice gaining strength. We can't give up on this. Not on the mission, not on our people, and not on each other. We may not have all the answers now, but we'll find a way. Together. Liara's eyes met his, and for a moment the weight of the galaxy seemed to lift. There was no easy solution, no simple path forward. But in that moment, Elias realized that there was something worth fighting for. Not just the alliance, not just the war, but the possibility of a future where he and Liara could find a way to be together. Over the next few days, Elias and Liara worked tirelessly on their mission. They met with the elders of the Esfera, discussing strategies for the coming conflict and working out the terms of the alliance. Every conversation, every meeting felt more intense than the last, but through it all, they both knew that they couldn't let their emotions distract them from the task at hand. Yet in the quiet moments when they were alone, their connection grew stronger. They found ways to share small gestures of affection, soft touches, meaningful glances, and words that spoke of hope and longing. Elias couldn't deny the fire that still burned between them, but he also knew that their path wouldn't be easy. They had to earn the respect of their people, prove that their bond was not just a fleeting desire, but something powerful enough to change the galaxy. One evening, after a particularly intense meeting, Liara and Elias stood outside the palace, gazing up at the stars. The night was clear, and the twin moons cast a soft light over the landscape. Do you think we'll make it through this? Elias asked, his voice soft but filled with uncertainty. Liara looked at him, her eyes filled with resolve. I know we will, because we're not fighting just for ourselves. We're fighting for something greater, and together we can do anything. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of her words sink deep into his heart. They didn't have all the answers. The future was uncertain and the challenges ahead were immense. But for the first time in a long time, Elias felt like they were no longer just two people bound by duty. They were allies, partners, and in a way, they were already building a future together. The path ahead would be difficult, and the odds were stacked against them. But Elias Riker, human warrior, had never backed down from a fight. And this time he was fighting not just for the galaxy, but for the woman he loved. And no matter the distance between them, no matter the laws or the battles they would face, Elias knew one thing for certain. As long as they stood together, they would find a way.